Assalamu alaikum, dear scholars. This is the second lecture of the poem An Evening Wet with Rain, that's authored by Ved Pal Deep. Now, I told Ved Pal Deep is a Dogri writer, an eminent writer, actually. Anyway, we see in this poem the poet is recollecting or remembering, a certain evening, a particular evening when he was wet with rain. And the atmosphere of the poem, the aura of the poem is a total silence, actually. And in the poem, the poet draws numerous images from nature, to heighten the effect of silence and the solitude. Now, to heighten the effect of his despair, his depression, his solitude, his loneliness, he heightens the emotions with certain lines, with certain words, okay, with certain emotions in the poem. We'll try to figure out the emotions and that, the effect, actually. And the poet seems to be depressed, perhaps for the loss of hope that has darkened the evening of his life. And we see the hopelessness of the poet in the poem. An evening could be symbolized with the old age of the poet, as I told you yesterday. The poet is reminded of his childhood. No, the poet is recollecting the memories of his childhood. The poet is feeling nostalgia, okay? As I told you, when he stood alone in the courtyard, listening to the sound of cymbals. So I told you he's remembering, he's recollect the memories of a certain or a particular day, when he was also alone in the courtyard and listening to the sound of cymbal. Cymbal, I told you yesterday, cymbal. Cymbal is actually a musical instrument, a kind of a drum that is hit hard with a stick, and while hitting it creates certain musical sounds. You can say it's a musical drum. And he also regrets the days gone by do not return. Guzra hua zamana ata nahi dobara. He regrets. Pachtawa ho raha hai inko. He is very much depressed. He's very much emotional, we see. Anyway, now coming back to the poem, let's try to analyze the poem line by line. Okay, here we go. An evening wet with rain, as I walk through the lane, the heart beckons the hands to hold them with love. The mind also knows subtle signals of breeze. Now, should I stand on the ground or wafted with the wind? Now, beckons means to summon, to call someone, to summon someone. And the waft means to walk gently. Anyway, waft and the beckons. Anyway. Now, these lines speak of an evening when the poet was walking through the lane which was wet with the rain. We see the poet is lost, in the memories of his childhood days. And when he was free, without any burden of anxieties, worries, and when he had not to shoulder any responsibility, when he was a child, actually. Now the poet is burdened. Now the poet is old, and he is burdened with certain responsibilities and worries. So what does he do? So he beckons, he summons, he calls the hands of his companion. He summons his beloved to hold his depression, to hold his life, to be with him for a moment, to talk to him, so that he could feel relaxed. His mind knows that the gentle breeze, are signaling him to go and be nearer to his companion, and hold his, companion's hand with love. Now the gentle breeze actually is a kind of a beautiful, trigger. Actually, it's a gentle breeze and the rain that makes him remember his beloved, no? So barish to usually you might have seen, whenever there is any kind of, romantic scene, have to be shown or displayed in any movie or any novel or any kind of romantic poem. Rain has been very much symbolized with certain, particular that scene, okay, what has been seen. Now the same same thing triggers the memories of the poet, the rain actually, and the breeze. He says actually it signals his emotions so that he could be with the companion and hold his hand with love. And the poet appears astounded. The poet also appears confused, and he doesn't know whether he should stand on the ground, or or take a stroll. And stroll, I told you, stroll means to walk. And he seems confused, he seems perplexed, he seems astounded whether he should stroll, whether he should walk down, towards the memory lane, whether he should take up the memory, whether he should let himself down, whether he should let himself overtaken by the memories, or let he himself allowed to move with the air, let he should go with the air, with the atmosphere of the poet or of the brain. He is very much confused. Now, windows, doors, awns, awnings of the house are wet. Cool breezes stir the leaves of yonder banyan tree. The collar of my coat is also wet with drops of rain. All around reigns silence. Now, yonder means over there, which is very much closer, Wahan pe, wahan exactly. And and the awning actually means a sheet of canvas, stretched on a frame as a shelter against the sun or a rain. आपने अक्सर शॉप वालों को देखा होगा समर्स में, वो एक पर्दा जैसा वो डालते हैं बाहर, है ना, ताकि धूप से वो बच जाए और किसी बारिश से भी बच जाए. Anyway, that's awning. Now these lines, these lines speak, of the windows, doors or sheets of canvas. All these things are wet with rain. We see, and then the leaves of the banyan tree, the leaves actually, patte. Banyan tree is actually the national tree of India. इसको उर्दू में बरगद का पेड़ कहते हैं. Anyway, we also see the leaves of the banyan tree, standing at a distance, yonder, I told you. Now, stir, owning to the cold breezes that rouse the emotions, that give rise to the emotions of the poet. And only the sound of the movement of leaves is audible, we say. But the collar of the poet's coat is wet with the drops of rain, and there is a total silence around actually. My feet are cold with water seeping through my shoes. My eyes are heavy with sleep. Or is it fever? The ground is very slippery. There is no place to stand. Now in these poems, these lines, we see the poet's feet have gone cold actually, due to the water, percolating, through his shoes or coming through his shoes. Now further we see the poet's eyes are heavy with sleep, and he is sleepy actually, he's feeling sleepy, and he's also feeling feverish, because he is tired, and his eyes and body spasmically feel feverish. He's feeling very hot actually. And he also feels the ground under his feet very slippery, and he couldn't find any place to stand. And then what does he do? And he is worn out, he's despaired, he's depressed, he was devastated, we could see, and his mind is completely tired. And so he is looking for someone, some place or someone's shoulder, to take a rest actually, to take a rest from these depressions, to take a rest, from the despair of this silence, to talk to somebody, to be with someone, okay, to share his memories of the past with someone. He's feeling very lonely or extremely lonely. I think, this is enough for today. Tomorrow we'll move further to analyze the poem more. So till then, goodbye. Have a nice day.